Do you ever feel like all the movies are the same? Like one of the biggest reasons for this is because almost every single movie follows the same secret formula. And guess what? That formula usually works. But do you want to know something else? What? It's actually really easy to predict what is going to not happen in any given movie if you just follow these 8 steps. Let me explain. Step no. 1. The hook. Every movie needs a hook to draw the audience in. This is normally some kind of conflict or problem that the main character has to deal with. For example, in the movie Lion, the main character, Saru, gets lost while traveling on a train. In the movie Get Out, the main character, Sam, finds out that he has only 24 hours to live. And in the movie Hacksaw Ridge, the main character, Desmond, decides to become a combat medic. These are all very different scenarios, but they all work as hooks because they introduce a problem or conflict that the main character has to deal with. Step no. 2. Rising action. Once you've hooked the audience in, it's time to start raising the stakes. This is where you start to develop the main character and their relationships and start to explore the world of the movie. For example, in Lion, we start to see Saru's relationship with his mother and the other characters around him. In Get Out, Sam starts to make amends with his estranged wife and kids. And in Hacksaw Ridge, Desmond's faith is tested as he faces opposition from his commanding officers. Step 3. The climax. This is the turning point of the movie, and it's usually the most intense part. This is when the main character has to face their fears and make a decision that will change everything. For example, in Lion, Saru has to decide whether or not to stay with his adoptive family or try to find his real mother. In Get Out, Sam has to decide whether or not to risk his life to save someone else. And in Hacksaw Ridge, Desmond has to decide whether or not to follow his conscience and disobey his orders. A step no for falling action. This is where the movie starts to wrap up. The falling action usually focuses on the aftermath of the climax and how the characters deal with the consequences of the decisions they've made. For example, in Lion, we see Saru reunited with his real mother and the impact this has on both of them. In Get Out, we see Sam come to terms with his own mortality and the importance of living each day to the fullest. And in Hacksaw Ridge, we see Desmond awarded the Medal of Honor for his bravery. Step no. 5. The resolution. The resolution is the final part of the story where loose ends are tied up and the audience is left with a sense of closure. For example, in Lion, we learn what happens to Saru's adoptive family after he leaves. In Get Out, we learn what happens to Sam's loved ones after he passes away. And in Hacksaw Ridge, we learn what happens to Desmond's career after the war. Now let's take a look at a movie that doesn't follow this formula. The movie Inception is a great example of a movie that doesn't have a clear-cut resolution. The ending is open to interpretation, and the audience is left wondering what's next for the main character. This lack of closure can be frustrating for some viewers, but it also gives the movie a sense of depth and complexity that makes it more thought-provoking.
Oh.
Here's the thing. While this formula is a great tool for storytellers, it's important to remember that it's just a formula. It's not a guarantee of success. There are plenty of movies that follow this formula to a T, and they end up being boring and predictable. That's why it's also important for filmmakers to add their own unique twist to the formula. This can be done by experimenting with different genres, by subverting expectations, or by simply telling a fresh, original story. So the next time you watch a movie, see if you can spot the 8 steps of the story formula. And then ask yourself, how did the filmmakers make this formula work for them? What made this movie unique and unforgettable? If you liked this video, check out this other video about the secrets of storytelling.